The knock on my truck window at 2 a.m. jolted me from restless sleep. Detective Murphy's flashlight pierced through the fogged glass, and for a disorienting moment I couldn't remember where I was. Then reality crashed back like a cold slap. Home Depot parking lot, Tuesday night or maybe Wednesday morning. When you're homeless at 49, time becomes as meaningless as the promises your ex-wife made at the altar. "License and registration," Detective Murphy said, his breath forming clouds in the frigid Texas air. I fumbled through my wallet with numb fingers, my spine aching from another night on the cold metal truck bed. With nothing but a thin sleeping bag and an old blanket, this was my reality now. Brady Sullivan, former successful excavation contractor, reduced to dodging cops and parking citations I couldn't afford to pay. This was my fourth violation in 8 days. Murphy appeared young, perhaps 35, with sympathetic eyes that seemed genuinely apologetic about rousing me from sleep. He returned to his patrol car while I monitored him through my side mirror. Standard procedure. I'd experienced this routine multiple times before, but then something shifted in the air like electricity before a storm. He leaned toward his computer screen, squinting intensely. He typed rapidly, waited, then abruptly stood straight up like he'd been struck by lightning. Even from 50 feet away, I observed his entire body language transform from routine traffic stop to federal emergency. He grabbed his radio and spoke with obvious urgency, glancing back at my truck with newfound respect. When he approached my truck again, his hand rested deliberately on his holstered weapon. "Mr. Sullivan, I need you to exit the vehicle slowly. Keep your hands visible at all times." My pulse accelerated like a jackhammer. "Officer, what's the problem? It's just a parking violation. I'll relocate the truck immediately." "Sir, please step out of the vehicle now." His flashlight beam had moved from my face to my torso, tracking every motion I made with laser focus. His voice carried a new edge of caution and alertness that made my skin crawl. I climbed out awkwardly, my stiff joints protesting the frigid desert air, hands raised slightly in compliance. "What's happening?" Murphy studied me with an expression I'll never forget. Fear mingled with profound confusion, as though he'd accidentally stumbled onto something far beyond his pay grade. "Mr. Sullivan, when I processed your license information, a federal flag appeared from 1987. There's a DEA notification requirement on your file. The flag indicates you're a subject of interest. File date is August 12, 1987. They're requesting your precise location. Someone's being dispatched now. I need you to sit on that curb and remain stationary." My hands began trembling as I processed his words. 1987? That was 37 years ago. I was 12 years old, the year Uncle Mike died, in that suspicious single-vehicle accident. The same uncle who'd bequeathed me his deteriorating Caterpillar excavator, the machine I'd eventually use to launch my earth-moving empire. But Uncle Mike had always maintained secrecy about his government employment, consistently deflecting inquiries with vague humor about construction consulting and bureaucratic pencil-pushing. As I sat on the frigid concrete curb, observing Murphy pace anxiously while we awaited whoever was coming, a specific memory surfaced unbidden like bile in my throat. My ex-father-in-law, Richard Donovan, had reacted strangely years ago at a family gathering when he discovered my connection to Mike. "Mike Sullivan from Fort Worth?" he'd asked, his face draining of color faster than water through sand. After I confirmed the relationship, he'd whispered something urgent to his son, Kevin. And from that moment forward, Richard had regarded me with barely concealed hostility mixed with something else. Fear, perhaps, or guilt. 25 minutes later, a black Suburban with government license plates entered the parking lot like a predator stalking prey. No emergency lights, no dramatic entrance, just the silent arrival of federal authority that made my blood run cold. Agent Rodriguez emerged from the vehicle, her credentials reflecting the overhead streetlight as she approached with purposeful strides. She wore a dark suit despite the early morning hour, radiating professional competence that immediately commanded respect. "Brady Sullivan?" she inquired, though her expression confirmed she already possessed the answer. "Son of Frank Sullivan, nephew of Mike Sullivan." "Yes, ma'am," I responded, wondering if I was about to be arrested for crimes I didn't even know existed. She examined me thoroughly for an extended moment. This disheveled, middle-aged man in wrinkled clothing who'd been sleeping in his vehicle, and something in her stern expression softened marginally like ice beginning to thaw. "Mr. Sullivan, we've been actively searching for you for 37 years. Your uncle left something behind before his death, something of critical national importance, I believe the circumstances that have you sleeping in this parking lot instead of your home are directly connected to what he uncovered in 1987. She extracted a tablet from her briefcase, navigating through multiple security screens with practiced efficiency. The glow illuminated a photograph that made my blood freeze. Uncle Mike in DEA uniform, positioned alongside several men I didn't recognize. But in the background, barely visible yet unmistakable, stood a considerably younger Richard Donovan, looking nervous and guilty as sin. Your former father-in-law isn't merely a retired law firm partner, Mr. Sullivan. Your uncle didn't perish in an accident. The federal flag on your file was implemented to protect you. She paused, letting the weight of her words sink in like stones thrown into still water. To alert us if anyone ever attempted to systematically destroy your life the way they destroyed his. It appears this protection arrives 37 years late, but it's here now. My entire body went cold, and it wasn't from the Texas night temperature. Everything suddenly made horrifying sense with crystal clarity. Richard's immediate animosity when he learned my uncle's identity, his methodical destruction of my business over the past year, his determination to separate me from his daughter Amanda like I was contaminated goods. He hadn't been protecting his family's social status. He'd been safeguarding a secret that my uncle had died attempting to expose. Mr. Sullivan, Agent Rodriguez continued, helping me stand with surprising gentleness. We need to discuss what actually occurred in 1987 and why Richard Donovan has spent the past year ensuring you ended up with absolutely nothing and no one to turn to. He believed if he destroyed you completely, broke you down sufficiently, you'd never discover what your uncle left behind. He was incorrect. The way she said it, with cold professional satisfaction, told me my nightmare was about to become Richard's. 6 months earlier, I was living what appeared to be the American dream, though looking back now, it was more like a beautifully decorated trap. My excavation company, Sullivan Earth Moving, employed 12 workers with contracts covering half the commercial construction sites throughout the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. I'd constructed it from absolute nothing, beginning at 27 with merely Uncle Mike's old Caterpillar and determination to outwork everyone else in Texas. 22 years of 16-hour days laboring through 100-degree summers and ice storms had finally yielded results. I'd established a reputation as North Texas's most dependable excavation contractor. The guy who appeared when promised and consistently delivered quality work while others made excuses. Sullivan Earth Moving was my pride, my legacy, my proof that hard work and integrity still mattered in America. Amanda and I had been married 24 years. We'd raised 2 exceptional sons in our 4-bedroom house in Richardson, complete with a 3-car garage that proclaimed successful middle-class Texas family to anyone who cared to notice. Jake was 22, completing his engineering degree at Texas A&M University, and Tyler was 19 in his second year studying welding technology. They were outstanding boys, intelligent and hardworking, everything a father could hope for. But tension with Amanda's family existed from our first meeting like oil and water refusing to mix. Richard Donovan made crystal clear I wasn't what he'd envisioned for his only daughter. An excavation contractor, he'd remarked when Amanda first introduced me at their country club, examining my work-roughened hands during our handshake with obvious distaste. I watched him mentally calculate my worth and find me severely lacking. How interesting. Richard represented old Dallas wealth, the kind of man who wore golf shirts costing more than my workers earned weekly. He'd served as senior partner at Donovan Klein & Associates for 33 years, manipulating legal loopholes like chess pieces, while men like me moved earth and built foundations for his world. His wife Margaret was worse in her passive-aggressive way, with artificial smiles and constant reminders about what Amanda had sacrificed. Kevin's business partner just purchased that estate in Highland Park, Margaret would announce at family dinners, passing asparagus with practiced elegance. 9,000 square feet. His corporate law practice is thriving remarkably. Remember when he escorted you to debutante balls, Amanda? I'd learned to ignore these comments over the years, concentrating on my meal while Richard launched into his weekly sermon about investment portfolios and legal strategies. Kevin, Amanda's younger brother, would smirk across the table, savoring the spectacle like a Roman watching gladiators bleed. He'd inherited his father's arrogance alongside his luxury car dealership, another gift that materialized without a single blister or drop of honest sweat. Dad built something from absolute zero, Jake would declare, defending me with the fierce loyalty of a son who'd spent summers laboring on my crews, learning the business from ground level. He employs 12 people. He's a legitimate job creator providing for families. "Anyone can operate heavy equipment, Jake," Richard would respond dismissively, swirling his expensive wine like liquid condescension. "It requires genuine vision to build substantial wealth. Your father works in his business, not on it. There's a definitive ceiling to how far manual labor can elevate a man." But I possessed my pride, even if it was apparently worthless in their estimation. Every foundation I excavated, every perfectly graded building pad and precisely dug utility trench represented something I'd earned through my own effort. No inheritance, no family connections, no old boy network pulling strings behind closed doors. Just Brady Sullivan and his willingness to outwork everyone else in the market. Amanda used to defend me, at least during the early years before Richard's poison took root. "Brady's a good man, Daddy," she'd insist. "He provides for his family. Isn't that what truly matters?" "There's providing for a family, and then there's offering them the life they genuinely deserve," Richard would counter, his gray eyes cold as January frost. "You could have had so much more, sweetheart. You still could." The strange reality was our life was genuinely good, or at least I thought it was. We vacationed in Colorado every summer, maintained 3 reliable vehicles in our garage, and never worried about paying bills. I coached Jake's baseball teams for 10 years and never missed one of Tyler's welding competitions. We had friends, weekend barbecues, date nights at local restaurants where owners knew our names and remembered our anniversaries. It was an authentic life, a solid life constructed on honest work and genuine relationships. But Richard had planted seeds of doubt in Amanda's mind, watering them consistently with comments about what she was missing, what she deserved, what other wives had that she'd been denied. Every family gathering became an exercise in subtle humiliation designed to wear me down like water on stone. He'd introduced me to his golf associates as Amanda's husband, who does dirt work, with the same tone you'd mention someone had a gambling problem. Margaret would seat me at the far end of the table during holiday dinners, physically positioning me on the periphery of their family circle like an unwelcome guest. The last normal day of my existence was a Thursday in March. I'd just secured a contract to do site preparation for a new medical complex, my biggest deal ever. I arrived home with champagne, prepared to celebrate this milestone that would cement our financial security for years. Instead, I discovered Amanda sitting at our kitchen table with her parents and Kevin's business partner, Marcus Webb. Legal documents spread before them like weapons of war. Richard looked up at me with something I'd never witnessed in his eyes before. Pure, undiluted victory. "Brady," Amanda said, her voice strange and unnaturally formal, like she was reading from a script. "We need to discuss our future." Looking back now, I realized that wasn't a discussion. It was an execution. Everything began unraveling the day Richard announced his semi-retirement from active legal practice. It should have been a celebration, the golden years finally commencing after 4 decades of corporate law. But retirement gave him something dangerous that I failed to recognize at the time. Unlimited time and a singular purpose focused entirely on fixing what he considered his daughter's greatest mistake, marrying me. He began appearing at Amanda's real estate office every morning with coffee and carefully crafted poison disguised as fatherly concern. "You're 47 years old, living beneath your potential," he'd tell her while reviewing her property listings with theatrical disappointment. "Examine these homes. You're showing starter properties and rental units. You should be selling estates in Highland Park, not 3-bedroom houses in Garland." The sabotage commenced with surgical precision that would have impressed a military strategist. First, Kevin summoned me to his luxury car dealership showroom with all the warmth of a tax audit. Sullivan Earth Moving maintained all the excavation work for his 3 locations across the Metroplex. It represented 35% of my annual revenue, roughly $98,000 in steady, reliable income I could count on like sunrise. "Brady, nothing personal," he said, avoiding eye contact as he slid the termination notice across his glass desk with practiced indifference. "Located a company that can do it for 22% less. You understand? It's just business." 22% less. I stood there knowing precisely what this represented, watching my brother-in-law destroy my livelihood with the casual cruelty of someone swatting a fly. "Kevin, we've worked together for 8 years. My crews know every drainage system on your properties. We've never missed a scheduled service, never had a single complaint." "Decisions made," he said, already checking his phone like I was a minor inconvenience. They start Monday. I lost nearly $100,000 in annual contracts in one 15-minute conversation, though the irony of losing family business to save 22% would prove deliciously appropriate later. But that was merely the opening move in Richard's chess game. Within 2 weeks, my business line of credit was frozen for what they called routine review. First National Bank had been my lender for 14 years. Perfect credit history, never missed a payment, model customer by any reasonable standard. I don't understand, I told the branch manager, feeling panic creep up my spine like ice water. I have payroll due Friday. These reviews are standard procedure, Mr. Sullivan, should be resolved in 4 to 6 weeks. 4 to 6 weeks. I had 12 employees depending on paychecks, 12 families to feed, 12 people whose mortgages and car payments depended on my ability to keep this business running. I emptied my personal savings to cover 2 payroll periods, maxed out credit cards for the third, watched my carefully built financial security evaporate like morning mist. But by week 4, with no resolution in sight, I was forced to start terminating people who'd trusted me with their livelihoods. Carlos, I'm so sorry, I told my foreman, who'd been with me 9 years, through good times and bad. The moment this banking situation gets resolved, you're my first call. It's not your fault, boss, he said, but I saw the worry in his eyes, the calculation of bills due and children to feed. He had 3 kids and a mortgage that wouldn't wait for my problems to resolve themselves. Meanwhile, Richard was working on Amanda with surgical precision, like a master manipulator conducting a symphony of destruction. He'd bring by real estate listings for million-dollar homes, casually mentioning how her friend Jennifer had just married a commercial developer. Remember Marcus Webb from Kevin's dealership? He'd say with calculated casualness. His corporate law practice just secured the airport expansion contract. He inquired about you the other day. Recently divorced, you know. Amanda started arriving home later, skipping dinners, avoiding conversations with the skill of someone practicing deception. She'd stopped wearing her wedding ring, claiming it interfered with her typing, though she'd never complained about it in 24 years of marriage. When I confronted her about it, she turned cold as winter steel. Maybe Daddy's right, she said, with the conviction of someone who'd been thoroughly convinced. I've been considering this for years, Brady. You're a good man, but you'll never be enough for this family. The word enough hit like a physical blow, carrying decades of accumulated resentment I'd never seen coming. Look at our friends, look at their lives. We're stuck in the same place we were a decade ago. Stuck. We were raising 2 exceptional sons who respected their father. We owned our home outright. No mortgage payments bleeding us dry. We took vacations, had savings, lived without financial stress. What more did she want? More, she said simply, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. I want more. The divorce papers were filed 2 weeks later with the efficiency of a military operation. The prenuptial agreement Richard had insisted on before our wedding proved ironclad, every clause carefully crafted by lawyers who specialized in protecting wealth from people like me. He'd paid for that lawyer back then, told me it was just intelligent business to protect both parties from future complications. Now I understood with crystal clarity. It wasn't protection, it was a trap set 24 years ago, patiently waiting to spring like a landmine buried in what I'd thought was safe ground. Without business income, and with my credit frozen in bureaucratic limbo, I couldn't afford a decent attorney to fight back. Amanda received the house, 2 vehicles, and primary custody of our sons. I got 72 hours to vacate and supervise visitation rights that Richard's lawyer friend ensured were deliberately humiliating in their restrictions, designed to make me look like a threat to my own children. Dad, why can't you just come home? Tyler asked during one of our awkward coffee shop visits, Amanda waiting in her car outside like I was some kind of predator. It's complicated, son. Your mom and I just need some space to figure things out. But Richard wasn't finished with his masterpiece of destruction. He ensured every commercial property owner in his extensive network knew that Sullivan Earth Moving was unreliable and experiencing serious financial difficulties. The whisper campaign spread through Dallas business circles like wildfire, each conversation carefully orchestrated to destroy my reputation with surgical precision. My remaining contracts evaporated within 4 months as if I'd been infected with some contagious business disease. I went from successful business owner to sleeping in my truck, showering at the YMCA, and relocating between parking lots to avoid police attention. The transformation from respected contractor to homeless vagrant was so complete, so systematic, it could only have been the work of someone with serious connections and unlimited malice. The final humiliation occurred when I confronted Richard outside his country club, desperation making me bold enough to challenge the architect of my destruction. "You did this," I said, cornering him beside his Mercedes like a predator finally facing his prey. "You systematically destroyed my life." He didn't even pretend to deny it, which somehow made it worse. The casual admission of guilt, delivered with the confidence of someone who knew he was untouchable. "I told you 24 years ago you'd never be good enough for my daughter Brady. Some men are meant to rise, others are meant to dig holes. You should have stayed in your place." My place? I'd built a business from nothing, raised a family, contributed to my community. "You played in dirt," he said, adjusting his golf glove with theatrical disdain. "And now you're back where you belong, in the gutter." That night in the Home Depot parking lot when Detective Murphy processed my license, I expected another ticket I couldn't pay, perhaps even jail time for the accumulated fines that were mounting like interest on a loan I'd never taken. I was ready to surrender entirely, my spirit as broken as my bank account. 3 weeks earlier, I'd sat in this same truck with my father's old revolver in my lap, wondering if everyone would be better off without me cluttering up their perfectly ordered world. The only thing that prevented me was thinking about Jake and Tyler discovering their father had quit on them, giving Richard the ultimate victory. But when Murphy mentioned the federal flag from 1987, something clicked in my memory like a key turning in a rusty lock that had been waiting decades to open. 1987? I asked, my mind racing through old memories that suddenly seemed significant. "Officer, I was 12 in 1987. I've never even had a speeding ticket before this year." Murphy examined his computer screen again, scrolling through information I couldn't see but that clearly had him spooked. "Sir, this flag is connected to a Mike Sullivan. Relation?" The name hit me like ice water flooding my veins. My Uncle Mike. Pieces of a puzzle I didn't know existed started forming in my mind like stars becoming visible in a darkening sky. Died in August 1987, leaving me his beat-up Caterpillar excavator, the same machine I'd used to start my excavation business. But Uncle Mike had always been mysterious about his work, deflecting questions with vague comments about serving his country in ways most folks wouldn't understand. "He was my uncle," I said slowly, understanding dawning like sunrise over the desert. "Died in a car accident that year. Single vehicle hit a tree on a straight road. The kind of accident that makes people ask uncomfortable questions when they're brave enough." "Mr. Sullivan, I need to make a call," Murphy said, stepping away from my truck but maintaining visual contact like I might disappear into thin air. I watched him speak urgently into his phone, his free hand gesturing as he explained something that clearly had his superior's full attention. 25 minutes later, the black Suburban arrived with the silent authority of federal power. Agent Rodriguez was nothing like the federal agents you see in movies, all dramatic and confrontational. She was calm, methodical, and treated me with unexpected respect, despite my current circumstances looking like a vagrant who'd lost a fight with life itself. "Brady Sullivan. I'm Agent Rodriguez with the DEA. We've been searching for Mike Sullivan's next of kin for 37 years. She pulled out a tablet, entering passwords and navigating through secured screens that clearly contained information worth killing for. "Your uncle wasn't just a construction consultant, Mr. Sullivan. He was part of a classified operation that uncovered a major cartel money laundering network operating through Texas legal firms in the 1980s. The words hit me like physical blows, each revelation reshaping everything I thought I knew about my family history. Cartel money in Texas? The question sounded naive even as I asked it. Not just Texas, nationwide. They were using law firms to launder drug money and establish legitimate business fronts. Your uncle identified the network, documented everything with the thoroughness of someone who knew his life depended on getting it right. He was 2 days away from testifying to a federal grand jury when he died in that convenient accident." She handed me the tablet showing declassified documents with heavy black redactions, but what remained visible made my blood run cold as winter. Photographs of law firm partners meeting with known cartel operatives, financial records showing suspicious transfers that moved millions through legitimate channels, and there, in a list of suspected but never proven collaborators, was a name that jumped off the screen like a neon sign: Richard Donovan. "Your uncle died before he could testify," Agent Rodriguez explained with the clinical precision of someone who'd seen too many good people destroyed by corruption. "But he was smart, paranoid enough to know they might come for him, So he hid evidence somewhere safe, somewhere they'd never think to look. The flag on your file was to alert us if any of his family ever surfaced in the system, especially if they were in distress. The theory was that if the network was still active, they might try to neutralize any potential threats before they became actual problems. You think Richard knew about this? I asked, though the answer was already crystallizing in my mind like ice forming on glass. Mr. Sullivan, when did Richard Donovan first learn you were Mike Sullivan's nephew? I thought back, remembering that dinner party 6 years into our marriage when everything had shifted like tectonic plates beneath my feet. When Amanda mentioned my uncle had left me my first excavator, Richard had gone pale as cemetery marble. Mike Sullivan from Fort Worth, he'd asked with the kind of forced casualness that screams guilt. When I confirmed it, he'd whispered something urgently to Kevin, who'd looked at me differently from that moment on, like I'd suddenly become radioactive. About 18 years ago, I said. He and Kevin both acted like I'd just confessed to being a serial killer. Agent Rodriguez nodded, like this confirmed something she'd suspected for decades. We believe Richard has spent years trying to find out what you might know or what Mike might have left you. When he couldn't find anything, he decided to destroy you instead. Make sure you'd never be in a position to discover anything, even by accident. But I don't know anything. Uncle Mike never told me about any of this. That's what we need to find out. Your uncle was brilliant at hiding things in plain sight. He left you his excavator for a reason. But there's something else. Something he hid that we've never been able to locate. We think Richard's recent escalation, the systematic destruction of your life, means he believes you're close to finding it, even if you don't know it yourself. She stood up, offering me her hand with the first genuine respect I'd received in months. Mr. Sullivan, we need your help. Help us find what your uncle hid, and we'll help you get your life back. More importantly, we'll expose what Richard Donovan and his family have been hiding for 40 years. For the first time in 6 months, I felt something other than despair. It was purpose mixed with the growing realization that my uncle had been trying to protect me all along, even from beyond the grave. The irony was delicious. Richard had destroyed my life trying to prevent me from discovering secrets I didn't even know existed. The next morning, Agent Rodriguez and I drove to my father's house in Arlington. Dad lived in the same ranch-style home where I'd grown up, still maintaining it perfectly despite being 74. He'd kept Uncle Mike's belongings in storage all these years, equipment manuals and old photographs stacked in the garage that I'd never bothered to examine. Mike was paranoid those last few months, Dad said, pulling dusty boxes from metal shelving with the careful movements of age. Kept saying someone was following him, tapping his phone. I thought it was the stress from his government work. We spent 3 hours going through everything with the thoroughness of archaeologists. DEA documents, old photographs, letters from his agency days. Then in Uncle Mike's toolbox, Agent Rodriguez found something that made her entire demeanor change. The bottom seems too shallow compared to the exterior depth. There's a false bottom here, she said, running her fingers along the edges with professional expertise. She pressed a corner and a panel popped up, revealing a hidden compartment that had been waiting 37 years to give up its secrets. Inside were encrypted hard drives and a leather journal wrapped in plastic like precious artifacts. Agent Rodriguez connected the first drive to her laptop with hands that trembled slightly with anticipation. Even from where I stood, I could see they were financial documents that would make accountants weep. "This is it," she breathed, her professional composure cracking like ice in spring. "Your uncle documented everything. Financial transfers, meeting notes, photographs." She set up a portable drive reader, and we huddled around it in Dad's kitchen like conspirators planning revolution. The documents were more damning than a signed confession. Richard Donovan hadn't just been a suspected collaborator, he'd been a key player using his law firm to move cartel money through legitimate businesses with the efficiency of a well-oiled machine. The amounts were staggering, over $150 million flowing through accounts, funding drug operations across the Southwest. Then she showed me a photograph from 1985 that made everything crystallize with perfect, terrible clarity. Young Richard Donovan, probably 28 years old, shaking hands with a man Agent Rodriguez identified as Carlos Mendoza, a known cartel money man. In the background, Kevin Donovan watched approvingly like a prince learning the family business. Another photo showed Richard at a legal conference in Mexico exchanging briefcases with the same man. Richard wasn't just protecting family secrets, Agent Rodriguez explained with cold satisfaction. He was an active participant. When the heat got too intense in the 80s, Richard modernized the operation for the new era. They shifted from direct cartel work to high-end real estate laundering, using luxury car dealerships as fronts. The journal contained Uncle Mike's handwritten notes, detailed observations of the Donovan family's activities, written with the precision of someone who knew his life depended on accuracy. One entry from July 1987 stood out like prophecy. "They know I'm on to them. Richard Donovan called my supervisor trying to get me transferred. I've made copies of everything. If something happens to me, my nephew Brady will inherit more than just my equipment. The truth has a way of surfacing, even if it takes decades." "We need to move fast," Agent Rodriguez said, already coordinating with her team. "If Richard destroyed your life this systematically, he's still protecting active operations." The raid was set for Christmas Eve, during the annual Donovan family gathering. Amanda would be there with the boys, Kevin would be there with his wife, and so would Marcus Webb, Amanda's lover, who we discovered was actually Agent Martinez, working deep cover for the past 18 months. Watching Richard Donovan get arrested in handcuffs during what should have been a family celebration was almost as satisfying as the $4.2 million reward check. Almost. The real pleasure came from seeing Amanda's face when she realized her affair had been with a federal agent gathering evidence against her precious family. The man who'd called me dirt under his fingernails was now heading to federal prison for 25 years. The excavation contractor he'd mocked had been sitting on buried treasure worth more than his entire legal empire. Sometimes the truth doesn't just surface. Sometimes it explodes like dynamite, bringing down kingdoms built on lies. And sometimes, the man who digs holes for a living is exactly the right person to bury the corrupt once and for all.